And 5 News is taking an in-depth look at state laws involving sex offenders. This after hearing reports about a convicted sex offender seen volunteering at a Fort Smith church around children. 5 News is not naming the man because police tell us he was not violating the law by volunteering at the church. Because of the questions raised, we're breaking down what state law allows and what it restricts. The man at the center of the concerns is registered as a level 2 sex offender. Under Arkansas law, people classified at that level are legally allowed to volunteer at churches. 5 News reporter Claire Everbach talked with police about the different levels of sex offenders and the rules they must follow.
Jay Baker, Lieutenant of Criminal Investigations for Van Buren Police, says Arkansas has 4 levels of sex offender classification, unlike other states that typically have 3.
In Arkansas, the level that's assessed is based on a face-to-face meeting with a group called SOCNA in Hot Springs. And the lower the number, the less likely to reoffend. The higher the number, the more likely to reoffend.
He says the assessment is based on multiple factors.
Number of offenses, number of victims, even down to gender of victims, criminology, other criminal history. And they go through the specifics of the cases that the suspect is now registered for, plus other criminal history.
State law says all registered offenders must sign and follow a sex offender acknowledgement form, but the restrictions vary by level. Baker says level 3 and 4 carry the most restrictions.
There are residency restrictions, there are there are work restrictions at level 3 and 4. Approximately 60% of the state's offenders are level 1 or 2. So not impacted by the bulk of restrictions that are put on sex offenders. Those include volunteering with children under the age of 16, water parks, living within 2,000 feet of a school, park, daycare center.
Baker says a level 2 sex offender is not breaking the law by volunteering at a church.
They are allowed to attend and they are allowed to volunteer. So churches would generally do background checks, and so that's incumbent upon the church, but per the statutes, they are not prohibited from volunteering as level 2.
Volunteering only becomes illegal at higher levels.
For level 4s, they're off limits, but for level 3s, they just can't volunteer where they will work with anyone under the age of 16.
Understanding the law is important, but Baker says he also urges parents to remain involved when it comes to their children's safety.
Parents just need to continue to know who's got access to their children and monitor that and trust their gut instincts.
In Fort Smith, covering news where you live, Claire Everbach, 5 News.
5 News did reach out to the church at the center of the concerns. They said they maintain volunteer screenings, and they said the individual does not serve and has not served in children's and youth ministries at the church and does not have an assigned role working with minors. They also said they maintain written child protection policies, and the safety of children is a non-negotiable priority. Tonight, it's not clear if they conducted a background check on this particular individual. Well, continuing coverage of federal immigration enforcement nationwide, the Cherokee Nation says it's had multiple reports from citizens on alleged ICE activity near tribal land in northeast Oklahoma. Tribal leaders say they are contacting federal partners to confirm if the activities are actually happening. And officials are urging citizens to remain cooperative with law enforcement while also being aware of their rights. Anyone with any questions can call the Cherokee Nation Marshal Service. Meanwhile, a social media post showing a picture of a Bentonville school bus outside a Homeland Security office in Fayetteville is sparking conversation and concern. That building houses an Immigration and Customs Enforcement field office for enforcement and removal operations. A Bentonville school spokesperson tells us that students visited Homeland Security investigations, which is also in that building. The district says classes have gone on the same trip in previous years to show students how forensic investigations work in the real world. The nonprofit For Our People is sharing its concerns about the trip, saying, quote, "This is not okay." The district did share the permission slip that went home to parents with us and had no further comment. The Lamar School District announced a confirmed case of whooping cough in a student. The district says it's worked with the State Department of Health to complete contact tracing and notify parents of students who might be close contacts. This comes off the worst year for whooping cough rates in Arkansas since ADH started collecting data in 2010. Well, a woman in Benton County pleaded guilty and was sentenced to voter fraud and perjury. Cecilia Castellanos was arrested in September. Attorney General Tim Griffin announced her arrest alongside 3 other Arkansans who were accused of voter fraud. County Prosecuting Attorney Josh Robinson told us she was sentenced to 5 years in state prison and cannot register to vote in any future election. AG Griffin said she worked at a dental clinic in Springdale. Well, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders announced today the state will participate in a federal tax credit scholarship program for school choice. It was established in the passing of last year's new federal spending bill. So beginning January 1st of next year, taxpayers can claim a tax credit for donating to organizations that provide scholarships for kids from elementary to high school. There is a $1,700 limit annually. We're following up on a law we told you about a few weeks ago. Arkansas Act 628 requires insurance companies to cover weight loss surgery for people who need it, but it's getting mixed reviews on how well it's working so far. The Arkansas Heart Hospital says it's seeing an influx of people asking about benefits and if they would be completely covered by insurance. But some are saying they're not being completely covered, and it's happening to people who are part of the AR Home program. That helps people use Medicaid dollars to get in-state insurance.
She said, this involves you also, and unfortunately they're adding a $25,000 deductible. They say that it's non-essential.
They make you think they're going to help you, to be able to get this, and in the end, that's not the story.
Arkansas Blue Cross Blue Shield says they have their hands tied because the federal government considers this surgery non-essential and the state couldn't take on the cost. Well, happening today at the Crystal Bridges Museum, the 3rd annual Beloved Community Festival. It's an event hosted by the Northwest Arkansas MLK Council. It fosters Dr. King's vision of what he hopes society would look like, free of poverty, hunger, and homelessness. The council handed out 33 scholarships and 6 awards to community members who have given back a lot to the region. We asked the council's president what she thought Dr. King would feel if he were at tonight's event.
I think he would feel at ease. I think he would say to himself, well, my dream is starting to come to fruition. Look at all the people. Nobody cares what anybody looks like, where they came from, what they're doing, why they're here. They're just here. They're here to learn. They're here to have fun and just fellowship.
Told us they're keeping the events going through the weekend. They'll be at the M. and Augustine Foundation in Fayetteville, giving out free meals, grooming, and healthcare services to the unhoused. And there's going to be plenty of celebrations this weekend in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Downtown Fort Smith will host its parade on Monday. You can find our whole list of events happening by texting MLK to the number on your screen, and we will send you back the link to the list. Well, check out what we got to see in Eureka Springs today. 3 rescued lions are starting a new chapter at the Turpentine Creek Wildlife Refuge. They came from a Honduran tourist destination where they were in an unsafe situation. And it took quite a bit of effort to get the big cats here. They were housed on islands off the coast of Honduras, so they had to take a boat to the mainland, then a plane to Miami, and then a long road trip to Northwest Arkansas. It's the first ever international transfer of lions to a U.S. sanctuary from Honduras. The refugees says they'll have a much better life here with a spacious habitat and good daily vet care.